So I received an email from you two, and all I saw was Elon Musk, and I knew, all right, we have to get this into the halftime show.
Well, we can kick this off by saying that a lot of this was inspired for me by pronatalist menace Elon Musk, who cannot stop tweeting shit about child-free people and women and population collapse.
We want to discuss how our decision to not want to or to not have children is becoming increasingly politicized. And it has disturbing implications, and we want to connect the dots for everyone between what might seem like annoying bingos to, that we all experience about having or not having kids, to the larger threats that we're experiencing on reproductive autonomy that are gaining more traction politically.
So what examples of this are you seeing out in society, in place of work, and as far as in the media?
I mean, especially in the media and political commentary, we've been seeing like this ever increasing panic around population, declining fertility rates, population collapse, which is not a thing, and we'll talk about that. But this has been growing and growing, and it's very hard to ignore the fierceness behind it all these days. So Elon, who's got no background in demography or ecological science, is like peddling this idea that population collapse is a major risk to the future of civilization, and it's a greater threat than climate change. And this kind of backs up all of his anti-child-free kind of rhetoric. So the latest thing he talked about was he seemed to suggest that he was all for taking voting rights away from people without children because, quote, the childless have little stake in the future.
And while people may be tempted to brush this off as an anomaly or a joke, it's important to recognize that it's a serious matter because increasingly politicians, religious leaders, economists, etc., they're seriously considering such egregious ideas, including institutionalizing abortion bans in order to increase fertility rates, whether it is to stave off a declining population of a certain ethnicity, or because we are worried that we're not going to be able to support the aging population. So to give you an example, Matt Schlapp, who is the head of the influential Conservative Political Action Conference, has recently suggested the racist Great Replacement theory, claiming that banning abortions could actually help boost the population of native-born people out of fear that they are being outbred by immigrants. And furthermore, there's, inspired by what's happened in the US recently with the abortion bans, there is this ultra-Christian anti-abortion far-right network in Europe called Agenda Europe that is allegedly planning to do the same, follow suit as to what the US has done. And the aim of the group is, which actually includes the Vatican, is to restore the natural order by basically devising new ways to take away reproductive autonomy and push people into traditional gender roles.
Based on the nature of this subject and I'm going to say the severity of it, it scares the average person from even thinking they can say something in opposition to our choice.
I think that part of it is just realizing that this isn't just your aunt telling you to give your parents grandchildren at Thanksgiving. I don't think that a lot of people are aware of how this is becoming more of a global philosophy about trying to get women to have children, making them have children, returning us to the traditional nuclear family structure. There's this idea that child-free people don't even exist. Every person, every woman wants a child if they have the right circumstances, right?
And to add to Teresa, what you said is, I think for those of us, especially attending this convention, who have had the privilege of choosing to not have children, it's increasingly important that we take that privilege of the reproductive autonomy that we've been afforded to really take that seriously and to use that privilege to speak up politically regarding what's happening with regards to, our threats to reproductive autonomy for people around the world.
And I think that the best way to fight back is to understand that it's not true. Everything people are telling us is not actually true. And so we picked a few of those things, and we wanted to kind of debunk these ideas.
So the first one that we started out with, which is the trope that Elon Musk and many of his similarly minded friends have been peddling, is that our population is going to collapse. First of all, collapse is not a demographic term. It has no meaning in demography. Secondly, our population is currently increasing at a rate of 80 million people each year.
Wow.
And, reputable demographers, some of the leading demographers in the world, including at the United Nations, project our population to continue to increase until the end of the century to about 10 billion, and then decline really slowly. So no, our population is not declining. Certain populations in certain countries are declining. Fertility rates are declining, but those are all good news stories because people, individuals, women, and families are actually choosing to have smaller families because of increased gender equality, because of greater reproductive autonomy. And that's something we should be celebrating. So, this idea that Elon Musk and some of the other folks have been spreading is that fertility is declining because women are not having children. And we should be blaming this on the child-free or the childless. That is simply not true. We've been seeing a decline in family sizes. So 4-child families, 3-child families, 2-child families have actually been declining in size.
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, thanks to Nandita, I have learned a lot of this stuff and a lot of this debunking in conversations with her. And I think it's very handy to have these things in your pocket to say, actually, fertility rates are not because women aren't having children, it's because they are having smaller families. Also, a steep decline in teen pregnancies is part of it too, which is more good news, folks, Yeah, and, this other idea that all women deep down want children, and it's only the circumstances around them that's preventing them from having children. We obviously know that's not true. We know how fiercely we hold our ideas about how we want to live our lives and what we want to do with our reproductive freedoms. But beyond that, there is no evidence that there is an innate desire for children. What there is a desire for is sex. So Mother Nature, in her wisdom, has given many of us the desire to have sex. And if the kind of sex we're having is procreative, sperm and egg, you know how it works, you tend to get pregnant. So it's having sex that actually causes reproduction, reproductive rates, and children. Mm-hmm. It's pretty smart. Makes sex feel good. People will have more of it, and they'll probably have babies. Now, some of these pregnancies are planned and very much desired, but the truth is that half of all pregnancies worldwide are unintended. Half are unintended. And there are an estimated, I want to get this number right, 257 million women in the world who want to avoid pregnancy, but are unable to do so. These are people who do not want children and are unable to prevent pregnancy.
We have environmental climate catastrophes that we are in the midst of. We are in the midst of a sixth mass extinction. And we should be more worried about the increasing death rates as a result of all of these catastrophes that could lead to a population decline, not the fact that women aren't having children. So we really do, as a child-free, childless community, we really do need to take matters in our own hands and really shake up this political narrative that is trying to undermine our reproductive autonomy.